Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mandy. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the door radical. Now let's get the 填字格 ready and the pens ready. First of all, let's take a look at the door radical. The door radical. 门. And now let me show you the evolution of the door character. So obviously, it's evolved from the picture of a door. So the characters come with the door radical. They all have this at the outside, and the other part should be at the inside. So as the name indicates, the door radical. So what would that related to? It could relate it to the door, of course. And the door is the place to get into or get out of the room. Okay, so it could also relate it to entrance or exists. And pass through. Okay, these are the function of a door. Now let's get to some example with the door radical. The first one. B. B could mean close, right? You close the door, so close. Make sense? But wait a minute. I think we also know there's another word also means close, and that would be 关. 关 also means close. So these two, 闭 和关, is there any difference between them? And yes. So first of all, for the B, the close, usually it refers to a status, like it's closed already, and you can close the body part. Okay, I'll give you some example. So the first one, the close status. 封 闭 封闭 is close or enclose. For example, 封闭的 环境 环境 is the environment. Okay, so 封闭的环境 is the closed environment, which means there's not much news coming on and it's not very open for other culture and people. So 封闭 right here, it's a status. And let's get to the other meaning. It could close body part. For example, 闭 眼 睛 And as you might notice, 眼和睛 they all have the eyes radical, as we talk about in the eyes radical video. So 眼睛 is the eyes. B is to close. So close the eyes. 闭眼睛. Okay? And now let's get to the 关. 关 is a word that we use pretty often. The first meaning of 关 is to close, of course, but usually it closes the things, not the body part. Okay? For example, 关门，关门 is to close the door. Just make it more specific. It's the close, the verb, the action to close the door. But is that possible? I say 闭门. Yeah, that's possible. You can say 闭门, but that's already the status. Okay, so there's a little difference between them. And second meaning of the 关, it could also mean to turn off a machine or electronics. Example, we can say 关电视。关 is to turn off. 电视, as we learned it many times before, is the TV. 关电视, turn off the TV. So TV is a machine, right? Okay. And that's the difference between these two. In short, 闭和关, they can all mean close. But for the 闭, it means the closed status, and it could close the body parts. As for the 关, it means close the action, and it could also mean to turn off the machine or electronics. Okay, now let's get to the next example. A door, radical, and then let's put the heart inside. It could mean 闷 and it could be 闷, and it means a little bit different when it pronounced differently. Before we dive into the meaning of it, let's take a closer look at the inside. Just like I mentioned about it, this is the 心 and it means the heart. Okay, so imagine this is a door, okay, a door, and then inside the door you put a heart. So it's kind of like you lock the heart in the room. That doesn't sound like happy things, right? So now let's dive into the meaning. The first one, when it pronounced as 闷, it means suffocating. This is pretty physical. It's like you locked yourself in the room forever and you're not going out. It's pretty suffocating. Yeah, you feel suffocating. And let me give you a sentence for example. You can say, 这个房间很闷。Okay? 这个 this 1. 房间, as we learned, the 房 in the building related radical. This is a building related radical. 房间 is the room. And yeah, see, there's a door radical in the 间, and we will talk about it after the 门. 房间 is the room. 很 is very. 闷 is suffocating. Yeah, so 这个房间很闷. This room is very suffocating, which means there's no fresh air in the room. And let's get to the second meaning. When it pronounced as 闷, 闷, it could mean depress. Because you suffocate yourself. You're feeling depressed. So this is mentally, okay? For the 闷, it's physically suffocating. And for the 闷, it's mentally depressed. Here's the example with the 闷. We can say 郁闷. 郁闷 is just depressed. You can say 郁闷的心情. Okay, as we can see right here, it's a heart radical. So 心情, it's something related to the heart, to the feeling, and 心情 is the mood. And the is just adjective marker, right? Okay, so 郁闷的心情, it means depressed mood, depressed emotion. Let's continue with the next example. 间, as you can see, we have a door at the outside, and we have a sun inside. Here is the evolution of this character, 间. You can imagine this is like a room, and inside the room you can see the sunrise and the sunset. So that's how you know the time. So for the 间, it could mean room. It's really physical. And if you get to more abstract, it could mean time and gap. Okay, here's some example. The first one, 房间 房间. As you can see, just like I mentioned a few minutes ago, here is the building related radical. We just talked about it in the last video. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. 房 is the room or the house. And 间 is also the room and the space. So 房间 is just room. And let's get into a sentence. Let's say, this is my room. This is my room. 这是我的 房间，这是我的房间。This is my room. Very simple. And let's get to the second word. The 间 means time. We can say 时间时 It also have a sun radical at the left. Okay, sun and sun. The sun radical is related to the sun, the light, brightness, and also time. Because in the ancient time, people can tell the time based on the position of the sun and the shadow. Now let's get to some sentence. Let's say, today I don't have time. 今天我没有时间。Okay, very straightforward. 今天 today. 我 I 没有 don't have 时间 time. Very straightforward. 今天我没有时间 today I don't have time. Okay, let's get to the next word. The 间 meaning gap. And in this case, it would pronounce as 间 with the fourth tone. 隔间隔 间 could mean gap, and 隔 it could be separate. Okay, 间隔 together, it just means a gap. The word gap year in Chinese, it could be 间隔年 间隔 is the gap, 年 is the year. Okay, so this is the Chinese translation for the gap year, 间隔年. The concept of gap year is getting more and more popular in China, but when I was a teenager, we really don't know what's the concept of gap year because we don't have that. Now let's get to a sentence. Let me show you the way how we use it. We can say 他的第一份工作和 第二份工作间隔了3个月。Let's see， 他的 his 第一份工作。份 is a measure word. Usually it refers to a portion, like a portion of food. And here, the 份 it could also serve as the measure word for a job. So 第一份工作 the first job 和 and 第二份工作 so that would be the second job. 间隔了 so 间隔 is gap and separate. 了 is the past tense marker. 3个月 3 months. Okay, so the whole sentence 他的第一份工作和第二份工作间隔了3个月 his first job and the second job gapped for 3 months. Let's move on to the next character. This one is pretty simple. You just need a door radical and a mouth inside. That would be 问. And the 问 means to ask. There's a theory. It says the original meaning of 问 is to get into the door and ask people for like directions or something like that. Anyway, so a door and a mouth inside, that would be ask, 问. So this is a pretty useful word. We can have 问题问题 it could be a noun and it means questions and problem. To say ask questions, it would be 问问题 So here we have the verb 问 to ask. 问题 is the question. So if you want to pause in a sentence, you will pause between these two 问, okay? Like you would say 问 pause 问题. You would not say 问 pause 题. Okay, you get what I mean? And of course, if you want to ask somebody questions, then you would just need to put somebody between these two. Ask you questions. Ask you a questions. You can say 问你问题问你问题 And as for the meaning for problem, for example, let's say my phone has a problem. Then you can say 我的 手机有问题。So that would be 我的 my 手机 phone 有 have 问题 problem. So my phone have problem. Now move on to the next example. We have a door radical and this is now. And just take a closer look at the inside. This is 市 and the 市 means a market. Okay, a market in the door. Here is the evolution of this character, now. And as you can imagine, if you put the market in the door, that would be super noisy. And yeah, the now can mean noisy. And to see it in the positive way, it's lively. Okay, now let me give you two words for the now. The first one, 吵 now. And you can see on the left side of the 吵, it has a mouth in it. And 吵 is to argue. And now is noisy. So, yeah, it's not good. It's just noisy. Yeah. Let's get to some phrases. You can say 吵 闹 的 街道 吵闹 is noisy. The is the adjective marker. 街道 is the street. So, 吵闹的街道 is the noisy street. Okay, let's get to the second meaning. It could also mean lively. So, it's positive. 热 Now, 热 it means hot. And now could mean noisy. But together it could mean just lively in a positive way. For example, we can also say 热 闹 的 街道 So 热闹 is lively. The 街道 same as the example we just talked about. So you can see, you can say 吵闹的街道, so that's noisy street, you don't like it. And 热闹的街道, it's a lively street, which means there's a lot of people and a lot of positive vibe, you like it. Okay, so that's the difference. So we've talked about now, which means noisy because we have a market in the door. So is it possible to switch the market to something else and make the whole characters a completely different character? I mean, the opposite meaning of the now. Yeah, it's possible. Let's switch the inside. We still have the door radical and we put a tree inside. That would be 闲, and 闲 is completely the opposite of now. It means leisure. For example, we can say 闲聊. 闲 is leisure, relax. And 聊 could means chat, to talk. So 闲聊, it just means casual chatting, just casually chatting. And here's more example. You can say 空闲时间空闲时间 The 空 means empty. 闲 is leisure. 时间 we just talked about it a few minutes ago and it means time. So 空闲时间 it means leisure time, free time. Leisure time. So if you want to remember them, why not remember both of them? They are the opposite. You put the market inside, that's noisy and lively. If you put the tree inside, it's very leisuring and relaxed. Moving on to the next one, also very simple. You put a door. Inside the door, there's a people. This is 闪. Here is the evolution of this character, 闪. And the original form of it, it means people peek at the door. People are curious about what's inside the door and they lean on the door and peek. So if you're gonna peek at someone at the door, you have to be sneaky and quick. So for the 闪, it could means quick and flash. Here is the example. 闪电闪电 闪 is quick. Okay. 电 is electricity. We've mentioned about it many times. So the quick electricity, it would make the lightning. I mean the lightning on the sky, lightning and thundering. Speaking of lightning, so how do we say thunder? 打雷打雷打 as we mentioned about it in the hand related radical, the 打 could means to beat. And not just beat, the 打 can be placed into many verbs. It's like the element for some verbs. Okay, and lei is an interesting word to talk about. You can see on top of it, this is the rain radical, and underneath, this is the field. And you can already imagine that when it rains, the rain drops at the field. When there is heavy rain, there's thunder, right? So lei is thunder. Yeah, 打雷 together, it just means thunder. So that's the nature, 闪电, 打雷. And for the 闪, here's another word I would like to introduce to you. It would be 闪. Xian, 闪现. Quick, 现 is appear. So quickly appear. That's what it means. Like suddenly show up, quickly appear. Let's put it in a sentence. 树林里闪现了一只兔子. Okay, so 树林, it could be a forest or a bush. Li is inside. 闪现 suddenly showed up. Le is the past tense marker. 一只 one. 只 is the measure word for animal. 兔子 is a rabbit. Okay, so 树林里闪现了一只兔子. The forest suddenly show up a rabbit. In the 闪, we have a door and the people inside. And now I would like to switch the people into some other animal. That would be our next example. Let's put a horse inside. That would be 床. Yeah, the inside part of it. This is the 马, which means the horse. So picture this, a big horse run into somebody's house. So that could be break into. Okay, so example. Let me give you a sentence. 小偷闯入商店 偷走了一些现金。Okay. 小偷 the 偷 it means to steal, but 小偷 is the word for thief. 闯 is to break into. The 入 means into and enter. So 闯入 they should be together. It means break into. 商店 we already learned about it. It means shop. We already talked about it in the places word video. We also learned about some other places word like supermarket, home, park, etc. Okay? And the next one, 偷. Here we talk about it. 偷 means steal. 走, walk. So actually, the 偷走, they are together. It means steal away. Like they steal away. They take away. 一些, we know that. 一些 some. 现金 cash. Okay, the whole sentence. 小偷闯入商店. The thief break into the shop. 偷走了一些现金. Steal away, take away some cash. As for the 闯, I would like to offer you another word also pretty common to say. 闯红灯 Okay, 闯 is to break into. 红 is the color, red. 灯 is the light. Remember, we have a fire radical on the left, and 灯 is the light. 闯红灯 to break into the red light, which means you run the red light, you run the traffic light. Okay, let's get to a sentence. 他因为闯红灯被罚款。他 he 因为 because of 闯红灯 break into the red light to run the red light. 被 is the passive marker. 罚款 is fine. Fine the money. Yeah, we have a knife radical right here. This is a knife radical. It could represent cutting and something harsh. For example, to punish. Okay, so the whole sentence, 他因为闯红灯被罚款. He, because of running the red light, he was being fined. 被罚款. He's being fined. This is the passive tense. Now let's get to the last word for today. It would be a door radical and the ear. So let's take a closer look at the inside. This is which means ear. Okay, so if you put your ear in the door, so what can ears do? Well, the ear can hear, right? So hear with the ear. And the second meaning of it, it's slightly different. It could also mean to smell, like to smell with the nose. I know, why? Here's the ear. Why the nose? Well, I really don't know why the evolution is like this, but this is the more modern meaning of it. It could mean to hear with the ears and to smell with the nose. And as for why it doesn't have a nose inside, blame the evolution. Okay, anyway, so let's get to some sentence. First of all, let's say to hear. To hear, there's a word very important. Xin wen. Xin is new. Wen is hear. So this is something you just know about, you just heard about, and that would be the news. For example, let's say sports news. 体育新闻体育 it could be the sports. Is that okay to say the other word for sports like 运动? So 运动新闻. Yep, that also makes sense, but usually we just say 体育新闻. It's more common. Okay, so 体育新闻, sports news. And what are the news? Let's say financial news. That would be 经济新闻 Okay. 经济 economics 新闻 news. Okay, very straightforward. And let's get to the second meaning of the word. It could be smell with the nose. Let's get to a sentence. 我闻 到鸡肉的味道。OK， I 闻 smell and 到 here it's a structure actually. It's the verb plus 到 structure. It means successfully do something. Like I successfully smell it. So together, 闻到 it just means smell. 鸡肉 is chicken. We've talked about it many times. This is the adjective marker. 味道 flavor or taste. Okay? So 我闻到鸡肉的味道. I smell the chicken's flavor. So I can smell the chicken. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoy it and you learned something from this video. If you find it helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you. If you want the practice sheet of my videos, you can download it from my website. I'll drop the link down below in the description box. Enjoy practicing. And I'm Mandy. I'll see you in the next video.